Charlotte and this is Bookish Mama Blooms. I'm going to do a little review video for you outside. This is going to be a catch up of... I can see a spider on my camera right now. The garden is literally covered in them. They're just like flying through the air, you know, like spiderlings do. So I'm going to do a catch up of probably what is April, May and June. I just haven't really filmed any review videos in that time, so I'm going to crack on. Some of these books have been hanging around for ages. Do you remember when I started this? This is Daily Rituals, Women at Work by Mason Curry. I started this was a pre-pandemic, so I think it was January 2020. I was like maybe this much through, and then everything that I was reading in sort of 2020 came to a halt. I finished it, I loved it, I want to read it again. If you are a frustrated writer or creator, painter, whatever, this is the book for you, because it just talks about so many different kinds of people and how they manage to work, or in some cases not work. It's really inclusive. I kind of feel like I want to start a chat. Tell me if you think this is a good idea. I kind of want to start a challenge where I go through all the writers and read one of each of their works. Maybe that might be interesting. Okay. Now this should have had its own video. Okay. I have no words to describe how amazing this book was. This is Ace: What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. This was meant to have its own video, as I say. It's going to be one of my books of the year. It was lovely Ariel from She Wants the Diction who alerted me to it, and it was one of those ones that I started because I kind of thought I want to educate myself on this subject, but I didn't necessarily think that it would give me anything for me. I don't identify as ace, and I just didn't think that it would have anything to do with me. Turns out that was completely wrong. The discussions on what it is to have sex, what it is to feel sexual desire, consent, blew my mind. Better than anything I've ever read in any book about feminism. So I would thoroughly recommend this. I was captivated from beginning to end, and I really need to reread it. I think it's going to be one of those ones that every couple of years I come back to. These are in no particular order, by the way. I also read Finding the Mother Tree by Suzanne Simard, Uncovering the Wisdom and Intelligence of the Forest. Now, Suzanne Simard crops up in a lot of other books because she was the scientist who basically discovered that trees talk to one another and that they offer one another things like carbon and nitrogen, not necessarily in a survival of the fittest kind of way. She was ridiculed for her ideas, and now they've turned out to be true. She mentions all the way through that the original people who realised that forests and things worked as almost like one giant life form are often, she calls them Aboriginal, I think that's what she refers to as all native people. She's in a Canadian situation. I'm not sure if I'd ever necessarily encountered that terminology for native Canadians. I know, if I'm correct, that a lot of native Canadians prefer to be referred to as people of the First Nation, and then obviously by tribal affiliation. She does go out of her way to identify individual people, and when she talks about certain areas of forest that she's done experiments on, she's quite meticulous to say this is the land of such and such. However, I would have liked one time for her to say, and we stole this land. That's not mentioned at all once in the whole book. That might sound nitpicky, but I just thought, well, you've gone to the trouble of saying who this land belongs to. Why don't you say why we don't call it that now? I mean, obviously people know, but I felt like it kind of needed saying. But having said that, she's very meticulous, and at the end of the book in particular, I think she goes into a lot of how, you know, this information is by no means new. This thinking is by no means new. It's just that the scientific community couldn't accept it. Yeah. One word of warning, and I don't want this review to last too long, is that at the beginning of the book, I didn't necessarily like her style, and I felt like she came into her style about halfway through. Either that or I started to adapt. She's an incredible scientist. It's a bit ridiculous for us to expect her to be an incredible writer. You know, Merlin Sheldrake is a bit of an exception to that rule. I don't necessarily think that you're always going to be a great writer as well, and I feel like it's pretty obvious that she did do this writing herself. But I did find in the early stages of the book that it was almost like somebody emulating what they thought would be good writing. storytelling, and that got in the way a little bit. Like some of the anecdotes were too detailed, considering they happened like in the 70s. I didn't feel like it was realistic for her to have remembered that detail. And yeah, there were some little aspects, but towards the end especially, I was so glad that I ploughed on, because the story in itself was what I wanted, and that's what I got. So yeah, let me know if you've read this book, because like I say, I couldn't quite put my finger on why I didn't like the style, but she's a great individual, great human. The Summer Book by Tove Jansson. I read this last week. It was meant to be a buddy read with Kate Howe. Sadly, she didn't feel the same way about it, so totally fine. We will find the right mix at some point. But I loved it. The premise of the Summer Book is a family, a father, a grandmother and a granddaughter on an island for the summer, like a Finnish island. Kate sort of suggested that it was almost magical realism. I feel like it's more, I guess you could say it's kind of dreamlike, but in a lot of ways I felt that it was super realistic portrayal of a grandmother's interaction with a granddaughter. The granddaughter Sophia is 6, and I feel like I'm the mother of a Sophia in Idris form. She's willful, she's naughty, she's bossy, she likes swearing. She's adorable. She's like a really classic child that's just a nightmare, but you love her. And I think to portray that without making the child just agonizingly annoying to read is just, for me, that's her magic as a writer, is that she's able to do that. And the grandmother as well is just obstinate. She's getting older. She's got a lot of generosity for the child, which is just beautiful. And their relationship is beautiful. And by the end of it, I was almost in tears because of the fact they pack up the summer home. And a lot of the book is, oh, there's a spiderling on me as well. They are everywhere today. A lot of this book is kind of like a metaphor for growing old and the end of life. Which sounds really bleak, but the book is beautiful, and I think it would tie in really well now with reading The Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, which is a similar book in the sense that it's a metaphor. So yeah, great. I would read it if you've got it. This also should have had its own review. I don't think I did it. We Still Here, Pandemic, Policing, Protest and Possibility by Mark Lamont Hill. Another book recommended to me by Ariel. Another corker. My dad borrowed it last week and said he was just blown away. You know, I just think this, I feel like maybe I have reviewed this saying that now, but it should have had its own video. It was amazing. Really fits in with current times. You need to read it. And then another one that I finished is Guerrilla Girls. It's a bit dusty. The Art of Behaving Badly by the Guerrilla Girls. So if you don't know who the Guerrilla Girls are, you may recognise their famous poster that went, here's a rendition of it. It's not quite the same one, but it's that. They made this poster, Do Women Have to Be Naked to Get into the Met Museum? They got an ongoing war with the Metropolitan Museum. And this documents basically how the group started. It's got all the statistics of through the decades, how their activism affected different museums and different artists and different galleries. It's really amazing, so inclusive, and I absolutely loved it. It's mostly sort of pictures of their posters and pictures of the places that their work has been exhibited, and then there's sort of little takes underneath. But if you want to really absorb it, it does take quite a few hours. Loved it. There we go. I've currently sat out here with my CBD, and I mean, this is so like, yeah, this is so middle class kind of, look at that. It's doing that. Don't know. It's elderflower mint. Lightly sparkling with CBD. It is really nice, actually. It's like a little bit like a mojito, but not. So I got that. I'm reading Do Transition Baby with the lovely Sian for story time. I've got another stack of books that I'm halfway through, and I'm going to do a video now talking about those, so that if you want to, you can then switch to that one as well. Okay, I hope you're okay, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Someone has buried their morning dentist stick in the garden, haven't you? You going to show me where it is? Where's your dentist stick then? Go show me then. Oh, I've got to go first, have I? Okay. I don't really want to show everybody the messy kitchen. Thanks, Jack. We won't even go down at the floor. Oh, it's messy out here too. Where is it then? Where have you put it? Don't get annoyed at Edward. He doesn't want it. Go on, show me. Well, where is it then? Don't get annoyed at Eddie. Eddie, it's okay. Oh, you are vicious. Not under there. Is it under here? Have you put it under here somewhere? Where is it then? I don't know what you've done with it, lovey. This is what he does. I have to find it and then he'll eat it. Okay, we're out the back now. Where'd you put it then? Is it over here in the vegetables? That's one of your favourite places. Let's look for some disturbed earth. Is it here? Oh! Did I find it? Wow! Good job! Now he'll eat it. What a weirdo.